This is I see Jesus everywhere because Jesus Christ lets me see his omnipresent face in everything. Eyes, nose, mouth, and beard. So, I'm going to show you that we can indeed see Jesus Christ everywhere as human beings, which is the main reason why I do this. So, let's begin with his nose, which is here. And you can see to the left his eye, under his mouth, and under his mouth his beard. And in this example, he's actually crying, which I don't like to see, but the top of the eye is his eye. His other eye is this space here. So you can see it. If you didn't have the Visa sign behind my paint, you could easily see that his mouth has two lips wide open here, and his beard is right here, this part of the S. I wish I had the function to just show you the paint, but try to imagine this. Like if I just drew this, you'd be like, hey, that's a face. And then if I could make the Visa sign appear behind, like faded in, then you'd be like, whoa, it's in the Visa sign. And this, you could argue that he's not crying. It's a pretty big tear. You could argue that that's his cheek, and the top of it is his face. Let's take a closer look. There we go. Because his face is omnipresent, that means we can see it and everything. So in this case, this is his left eye, and here's his right eye, right here, and his nose is right here. And his mouth be the top of this line, which I'm not very good at tracing. And top is his mouth, and his beard is under here. So if you've ever seen an omnipresent face before, you'd be like, yeah, Drew, that's like all the other omnipresent faces I've seen. But if you're not, you might be like, what is this guy talking about? But really, that's Jesus Christ's promise. He said in Luke 17, verse 24, for the Son of Man in his day will be like the lightning which flashes and lights up the sky from one end to the other. So that's omnipresent. So either he's going to eat a lot of donuts so that you can see him from one end of the sky to the other, or I'm right, he has an omnipresent face, or shut up because you don't actually believe in him. Okay? So let's continue showing you here. So you know what? I can't do this by myself. I need Jesus Christ's help. Since I'm on yellow, I'm going to show you the beard first. His beard. Here. And his nose is here, which should not be red. So I'm going to do it again. This is his nose. And his eyes. This is his eye here. So yeah, if I showed you without the Visa sign behind it, I wish I had that kind of function. Maybe I do. I don't know. I'll have to try and check that out. he'd be like, okay, yeah, those are eyes, and his nose, and his mouth looks like it's open here. Yeah, imagine that without the visa behind it. Easily be able to recognize, okay, that is a face. And it just shows his power, you know? He has his face in everything. It's just amazing. Oh, wow. Yeah, you ask him for his help to see him, and he lets you. And that's just beautiful. And, I'm not in a real hurry, so I can show you again. Let me twist this for you. And you can see, maybe if I just draw his mouth, you can imagine where everything else falls into place. Here's his mouth. And his beard, of course, in this case, surrounds his mouth. Like so. And his nose is right here. And his eyes are right here. I'm so not good at doing this. But hopefully I'm inspiring you to believe in Jesus Christ, who said that he would be like the lightning that flashes and lights up the sky from one end to the other, because he is like that. But you cannot see him without his help. You need to ask him for his help, and then you can enter heaven on earth, which is where I am when I look at his face. Let's continue. So if we look at him differently, we can see that here this structure could represent both of his eyes. And then you can see up his nose again. Everybody likes that. And here's his nose. And his nostril is right here. If I can make that kind of darker, then you can maybe understand what I'm getting at. Right, and here's his nostril. And he's got the same actually, in this case, it looks like it suits him better to have, if I highlight his mouth as this protruding part here. Oh, straight lines. That's a good idea. And his beard has this portion here. So, yeah, if I drew that for you without the Visa sign behind it, you'd be like, that's a face, right? And I'd be like, yeah, it's actually Jesus' face copied out of Visa. Okay. So, let's move on. The point here is to show you that his face is omnipresent. Lots of people have Visa cards, and they can take out their Visa cards and be like, yeah, that's the real Visa card. And I could be like, okay, look right here, where you can see his eye. This right here. I actually wanted to use a different highlighting function for his eye, and his other eye, and his nose. Do I really have to do it? Do I really have to show you where his nose is after I show you his two eyes? I guess. I don't know. Let's just be thorough. And I suppose it's real easy to see his mouth, but you know, it might not be for some people. So we're gonna try and do our best to make sure that everybody knows that Jesus Christ's face is everywhere, and he actually lets us see him, just like he said, before we die. Like in Matthew 16, verse 28, I tell you the truth, Some of you who are standing here will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. So I believe I'm looking at him coming in his kingdom. I cannot imagine a better way to do so. I'm not going to do too much here. I think I've made my point, but there's one final example that I would like to show you, where if I paint over it, you may have an easy time seeing that he indeed has an omnipresent face. This structure here is his eye. You can see like his eye, and this would be like the top of his eye and the bottom of his eye right there. You see it? And his nose is here. Green. And his mouth is red. And his beard is yellow. So I wonder if I paint over it with lines, maybe, yeah, lines, then you might find it easier to see what I'm talking about, because then you can kind of imagine without the visa sign behind you. It doesn't require imagination, you know, to see God's face, because, hello, his face is everywhere. But I do want you to imagine that the visa sign is not behind the paint that I'm painting here. That's what imagination is. When you imagine something that is there, that is not there. Imagine that you see this. You could be like, okay, is that some kind of omnipresent face? Yeah, it is. And you can see up his nose right here. It's just a shocker, right? Like, I said, I can see, this is his nostril area right here. I can see God's face, eyes, nose, mouth, and beard. They're like, oh, okay. And then I said, how about I can show you his nostrils? And they're like, his nostrils? So, this is it. So, I'm going to challenge everybody. If you can see his face differently than I showed you today, then I'd like to see it, because, hey, it's everywhere, and that's why I'm doing these videos, so that I can help the world realize God's face is everywhere. And we can see it when we ask Jesus Christ to help us see him, okay? This is I See Jesus Everywhere, at your service.